We're going to talk about the best foods for weight loss or weight gain. You can use this information and apply it to yourself accordingly. So generally speaking, the most important dietary variable if you're trying to gain weight or lose weight is the total number of calories that you consume. For example, if you take a high sugar diet to a low sugar diet, assuming that total number of calories and macronutrient ratios are kept constant, there's no difference in terms of weight loss. Now, some people think, therefore, that sugar is as good as any other carbohydrate because it acts the same if total number of calories are the same. However, these are controlled feeding trials where you're giving people exactly the same number of calories and exactly the same macronutrient ratios. The real world is not a controlled feeding trial, and it is subject to this evil thing called appetite. Now, when you're dieting, regulating appetite becomes more and more important because, of course, if you are hungry all day, the chances of you sticking to your diet and adhering to it long enough to get results diminish. Therefore, when you're dieting, it makes sense to eat foods that help encourage a feeling of fullness. Likewise, if you're trying to gain weight, eating foods that keep you full may make it harder for you to consume enough calories in total. Therefore, you may decide to eat foods that keep you less full, enabling you to eat more calories. So back in 1995, there was a study which looked at something called the Satiety index, basically how full a certain food makes you feel. So what they did was gave people the same number of calories from different foods, 240 calories of one food, 38 foods in total, and then let people eat at a buffet 2 hours later to see how much food they would eat afterwards. For example, you eat 240 calories worth of white bread, wait 2 hours and go to a buffet. Or someone else eats 240 calories of popcorn, waits 2 hours and goes to eat at the buffet. Who eats the most? Is popcorn more filling than white bread and vice versa? So there are 38 foods that are examined in total. I've drawn up a chart to make it easier to compare and I'll put it over my face. So white bread is the reference standard and ranked at 100, hence the line across the middle. So in the first column you have white bread. These are the bakery products. Then in the orange you have snacks and confectionery, then in the green breakfast cereals, then grey protein-rich foods, yellow carbohydrate-rich foods, and then red fruit. So what you'll notice in the first group is that a croissant is the least filling out of all the bakery products examined, crackers being the most filling. Then snacks and confectionery, Mars bar is the least filling with popcorn being the most filling. Then in breakfast cereals you have muesli as the least filling, and then porridge as the most filling. Then in the protein-rich foods you have lentils as least filling and lingfish, which is a white fish if you're not sure, as the most filling. Then French fries as lowest, potatoes scoring a whopping 323, the highest rated out of any food examined. Then bananas being the lowest and oranges being the highest. So what this chart enables you to do as a starting point is look at how certain foods make you feel. Are you more likely to eat more food later in the day if you've consumed that food? Or is there another food that you could eat instead that may keep you fuller for longer? Now, there are a few important things to note from this study because people seem to get this wrong. Now, it's important to note that you can't compare different preparations of food to this chart. For example, boiled potatoes scored 323, the highest by far. However, these are boiled and plain. Most people, when they cook potatoes, may cook them in oil, for example, and then season them. So, for example, if you're frying potatoes in butter and then salting them, that is not going to have the same satiety score as something like a boiled plain potato. So things like seasoning on products, food preparation, little things like the brand. For example, a certain cookie, you can't assume that all cookies are the same. Some will have more fiber, some might have more protein, for example. What I'm saying is use this as a starting point. So, of course, there are only 38 foods examined. There are other foods that you're going to be consuming in your diet. But generally speaking, it makes sense to pay attention to how full a certain food makes you feel, and if that food is conducive to your diet, whether it encourages you to overeat later or helps you stay fuller for longer. So that's it. I hope it's been helpful, and thank you for watching.